Edmond, Oklahoma, is known nationwide for its placement of outdoor public art. There are sculptures of all sorts located on every corner of the downtown area, as well as on neighborhood streets, banks, parks, schools, shopping centers, and even gas stations. Edmond's public art can be described as a feast for the eyes. There are life-size human-looking statues, animals, some are little and others are gigantic, like this wishbone-shaped sculpture by artist Linda Prokup. It's called Big Wish, which is nearly 17 feet tall. There are pictures painted on the sides of buildings, as well as unique stained glass bronze, powder-coated steel, modern abstract and historical-looking statues. When I first moved to Edmond, I was influenced right away by the unique personalities of the statues, many I would see as I went shopping, on my way to meetings and classes, and while sightseeing. Their whimsical, pleasant, and serious faces and poses caused me to smile, frown, point, laugh out loud, and do double takes as I circled the block to get a better look at my buddies, like the famous blue hippo. Soon drive-by visits turned to more intimate relations between the statues, my camera, and me. I had never seen so much art outside of a museum. I lost count of the statues as I documented them with photos and notes. Over 100 works of art are part of Edmond's collection of public art created by established and emerging sculptors and artists. My investigation led me to meet Randall Shaded, who is responsible for creating Edmond's public art program more than 10 years ago. He told me that he was so impressed with the public art projects he saw when visiting other cities that he brought the idea back to Edmond. Other city officials and citizens agreed with the idea, and a visual arts commission was created to oversee the project. Annually, the city of Edmond sets aside $100,000 to $200,000 in its budget to be spent as matching funds for donated sculptures and other pieces of art. Private donors then pay for half, and the city matches the other half of the cost of the project. Shaded told me that these unique statues and paintings influences and affects the senses of most people who take the time to notice them. Many have become public icons, creating lasting memories and strong emotions in some people.
I think it's real difficult for someone to drive by something that's either beautiful or whimsical and be mad. When you see it, it may just be for a fleeting moment. It either makes you feel good or it makes you feel kind of happy, because some of ours are whimsical pieces and they make you just almost laugh out loud when you see them. And you see a lot of mothers and grandmothers with their children and grandchildren going around town, particularly in the downtown area, and being photographed with these pieces, so it becomes a family outing. Well, we have tourists coming now to Edmond to look at our art.
Let's talk about a whimsical piece.
Well, there's two, and they're both over at city buildings over here. One's in front of City Hall. It's called the Puffed Up Princess. It's a big frog with a crown on it. I like that one because the mayor at the time, Mayor Naify was the partner, she paid half. And it just says something about a public official who can kind of laugh about authority. Kids love it. And then there's another one across the street at where you pay your utilities. It's called HD. It's Humpty Dumpty, sitting on a pedestal. And I think those two are really the most whimsical, and you can't look at those and not smile.
Which one make you think seriously and ponder life?
There's one of Shakespeare over in front of Mitchell Hall, sitting on a bench. It's a great piece. There's one of Monet down in front of the Fine Arts Institute. It's a peaceful, makes you ponder painting, I guess, because he's sitting at an easel.
What takes you back to your childhood?
There's two or three. The one over here with the water well and the kids and the puppy reminds me a lot of my childhood. There's one up at Bradford Village that's a child on a swinging tire. Certainly that one. I mean, we all did that. At least my generation all did that. Kid on the stilts right down here on the corner. We all did that. I remember having overalls on just like that kid and doing stilts. So.
One of my favorites is the one in front of the Edmond Sun building.
Oh yeah, the newspaper.
Yes.
And they bought that. They were the Edmond Sun was the private partner on that, or the editor at the time. I'd seen that piece at a sculpture show, and brought a photo back to him and said they can customize the bag and put Edmond's son or whatever you want on it. He went to his higher-ups and he wrote a check to the city for half the cost of that.
The corner of the city building, there's a woman, and I don't know whether she's Oriental or African.
Setting, kind of a turquoise color.
Yes, that is beautiful.
That's an interesting piece. That's called Endurance, and it's by Shirley Thompson Smith, who's an Oklahoma City sculptor. There's two pieces by her in our collection. The other one, vertical piece, another woman, and hers have. It's interesting. They almost look like, to me, Aleutians, Alaskan Native peoples. They have an African American look, they have a Native American look, and they have kind of a Alaskan, almost Eskimo type look. And all of her human figures, she does. I don't know that I've ever seen a male that she's done. They're all females, and they all have those same features. But it's a neat piece. I had talked to Shirley. She's been a friend a long time, and originally asked her why she never did a large piece, because I'd never seen anything except maquettes. She said, "Oh, I've got one out in New Mexico, Randall," and told me where it was, and I went out and looked at it when I was in Santa Fe, and came back and got the president of the bank across the street. I said, "Here's this piece. You can make a heck of a deal on it. Put it out in front of the bank, write a check to the city," and he did. Right then, he gave me the money for the city, and I got it approved. And then after that, Shirley showed me that piece you're talking about, and I thought it was a striking piece also. I really liked it. So worked a deal to get it into the program.
So do the artists volunteer to sculpt, or do you commission? How does that work?
This program, primarily, someone shows a donor a piece that's already in existence. I would seldom do a commission in this part of the program, because you just don't know what you're going to get and what the cost is going to be, and it's a long, cumbersome process to commission something. Our program, it has to be a limited edition. Can't be just a catalog retail piece. It has to be a limited edition piece. And that enables me and people like me to go to sculpture shows around the country. I've probably got files on 300 sculptors with different styles of work. And I can get a photo of the piece, I can get a firm commitment on the price, and I can show it to you, the potential donor, and I say, "This is the piece. Wouldn't it look good right here? And your half will be this." And usually we can get a better price than the retail. Obviously, we negotiate a little better price. So that's the way it happened. We have done a couple of commission pieces here, and a commission piece is going to be more expensive, because you're going to pay all the front-end cost up front to cast it and get the molds done. So
Was Shannon Miller, was that?
Shannon Miller was a commission. That was a commission, and that was before we actually had the program. As after she won her last Olympic medals, and we thought we ought to do something in her honor here in the city, and we did a commission process. The mayor at the time had a person here in Edmond. He wanted to do it, Shan Gray, and Shan's a good sculptor. Turned out well. I mean, it's an interesting piece.
There's many different styles of sculptures. Some are modern, some are older looking. Some of the statues that look older, are those newer? There's like a monument to a soldier.
No, that's a newer piece. Russell Doherty, he was the first Edmond military person killed in World War II, and that school's named after him. That was a commissioned piece by the Parks Foundation. Mary Lou's a local artist. She did The Reader, which is a man reading the paper, and she did Kentucky Daisy over here at Market Space. And they hired her to do that, and it's a neat piece, but that piece is, I don't know, 2 or 3 years old. When the program got started, my view was that do things that are family friendly, nobody can find fault with, everyone's going to love. So you get a dog and a kid and a mom on a bench with a kid, you get a kid on stilts, you get a woman holding some birds. No one's really going to find fault with that, and people are going to just gravitate to it. And then, when you do that, and you get your program going, get a few more pieces like that, and, our program been up about a year and a half, and I had people then coming to me saying, "Well, why don't we have some abstract contemporary pieces?" And I said, "Well, because you haven't written the check to pay for it. It's the reason why." And so started then trying to show more of that kind of work to diversify the program. Some of those works, particularly in powder-coated steel, are much less expensive than bronze or stone and steel. And so you'll see several of them up and down the median and boulevard. They're all 10 to 15,000 price. I think some of those are around 10. But the ones that are stainless steel and powder-coated, they're 8 to 10,000.
I think I've seen them all now, and then I'll turn a corner and there's one that.
It'll surprise you. It'll surprise you. You know, the critical mass is in the downtown area, and this is kind of my thinking now. On Boulevard, I felt like we ought to have one street in town, because our pieces are meant to be pedestrian friendly mainly. You can walk up to them and touch them or whatever. I felt like we ought to have one street that every block had a piece on it, either in the median or on the side, where you could drive and see it, but you're driving at a safe enough speed that you're not just going to whiz by it or rear end somebody. So we started at 5th. There's that Fox at 5th Street and Boulevard by the 501 down in that area. It's actually called Royal Red, but it used to be where the clock is at the middle of 2nd. It was moved, the clock goes in, and the newspaper writes a story, says, "Man, we really do miss our dog." So they'd come to like it after it was in.
I love the jazz scene at the
Oh
jazz
yeah, that's a great piece. Yeah,
Who did that?
Gary Olson from Colorado.
Excellent.
He did that. He actually did the Boy on the Stilts down here on this corner. And then if you go out to Covell and I-35 to the fire station and training center, he did a big fireman and a child out there at the entry into that building. It's really, really a nice piece. There's a disc golf course where you throw frisbees at Mitch Park, and the young man that founded that died. You know, he's young, 20s, he died. His folks came to me and said, "We want to do something in public art in our son's memory." Well, a friend of mine in Colorado represents the National Sculptor Guild, and I called him up. They had a boy and a dog with a disc in its mouth. I mean, just perfect. So I showed it to them. They wrote the check to the city, and we put it out there.
How many art projects are there?
Counting some murals that we've done, about 130, I think. Most of those, there's probably 120 sculpture pieces.
Where are the murals at?
There's one down here on WW Tire on the backside. If you go to Arby's and you look north, the whole wall is a mural.
Is that Route 66?
Yeah, I think
yes,
so.
I've seen it.
There's 2 or 3 in schools, and there's one over, where the old schoolhouse is over here on 2nd Street. Sherry's Drug over there, that's one of our murals also. So there are a few of those around, but the bulk of them, there are a few paintings out at the MAC, and there are a couple of paintings at City Hall, and then most everything else is sculpture piece.
Why is the art outside? Some people might say, well, art should be in a building where it won't get damaged by the elements.
Yeah. Well, it's outside because it's meant to be accessible to the public. It's a public art program. If you start putting it inside, then number one, that I think would limit. You could not put it inside a private business. In other words, I couldn't have a city-owned piece in my building. It just wouldn't be fair because it's not accessible basically 24 hours a day. And a public program needs to be accessible 24 hours a day, visible 24 hours a day.
As a special thank you for bringing the Public Arts Project to Edmond, Oklahoma, Randall Shaded was presented with a 2010 Towering Spirit Award from Keep Oklahoma Beautiful. Shaded is an attorney, as well as the founding member of the Edmond Visual Arts Commission. He also served on the City Council and was the mayor of Edmond from 1991 to 1995. Randall Shaded and his wife Dana share in their love of original art and host showings of their personal art collection in the Shaded Fine Arts Gallery in Edmond. The Shadeds are shown in this professional portrait taken by photographer Randy Taylor. As you continue to enjoy the photos of the Edmond statues, remember, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There are many more statues to see. The Edmond Convention and Visitors Bureau has published a guide entitled Edmond, The Art of Oklahoma. In it you can see some of the statues and their locations. The guide says Edmond is the art of Oklahoma, where world-class sculptures are scattered like jewels throughout the city. For more information about the statues of Edmond, log on to the Edmond Convention and Visitors Bureau website at visitedmondok.com. That's visitedmondok.com. I'm Edna Parrish.